from the look of things there, from the ASUU chairman's perspective and tone, it doesn't look as if it's going to be called off anytime soon.
It appears it's still a long wait. At least anything from Tuesday next week, if it is possible. A very big if. But it's very, very unfortunate. Very, very unfortunate in the sense that education is supposed to be the most primary thing government must provide.
But what are the ministers really saying? Because I didn't truly get anything
ministers,
from what
the governors, the president, all the people in government are geared only towards 2015.
Oh dear.
And they're not bothered about education?
Did anybody make any reasonable statement? The Minister of Education has not even been helping matters. The way she talks glibly about this thing that ASUU should go back, that is a very cheap way of looking at a very serious problem. First and foremost, government must accept responsibility if there was an agreement that they are now reneging on, because agreement is agreement and it must be respected. Otherwise, the whole essence of social ethics will crumble.
But I thought, sorry to cut you, I thought the importance of some of these sectors in our national life makes it imperative for us to have at least 2 ministers. If we have 2 ministers for health, 2 ministers for education, one would have thought that 2 drivers handling this particular sector wouldn't have been where we are now.
The much I hear about the Minister of State for Education is about the River State crisis. Then the Minister of Education, who ought to sit down with her team to take a very incisive analysis of the issues moving forward, not because the situation is bad already. So how do we get out of it? Nobody seems to be addressing that. It's not a question of calling meetings again with ASUU and asking them, you go back, so that if there is an agreement by Tuesday or Wednesday, 2 months down the line, ASUU will come back again and say that nobody is implementing anything. And this is happening at a time there is a proliferation of federal universities. It is only in this country that you can have such a dance of the absurd. Just like people are calling for creation of more states. You have 36 children, and all of them are malnourished. And you are getting new wives to be able to produce more children. And you are not thinking of exporting them to those who need them. All of them will be stewed in the same problem of poverty. I mean, it is a senseless way of governing a country. We need to understand that if you do not prepare the children of today for tomorrow, there is no future for this country. A.C. Catherine said, I'm interested in tomorrow because that's where I intend to live. Those who think of yesterday and today, today is almost gone, even as we sit down here. And if you have no plan for tomorrow, you can't fit in there. And it is only education that can help you. Many children that, many people who go to foreign countries like America and so, because some of their policies are now geared at poaching people who show promise. All this green card and all that. It's just a way of grabbing people who ordinarily would have stayed home, but in whose countries you don't have the right temperature for them to flourish. So they take them and leave you with the chaff. But again, you have to address the aspect of the lecturers themselves. How many of them are good enough to teach? What is the content of their teaching? Many of them are insisting on the context, but they have to also examine themselves. I have seen so many lecturers, some of them parade PhDs and chains of degrees, even in their own discipline. You cannot take them for granted. I heard somebody on the set here yesterday saying that an industrial attaché of mechanical engineering said they were still being taught carburetor. Yeah, I mean, I don't know what. This is a very elementary aspect of the technology in automobiles.
That is almost extinct.
Now, if you use that as a historical standpoint, that there was a time this reigned supreme, but today we are at this stage where even if they don't see it, let them know theoretically. Because the issue of university, yes, it's good to have practical experience, but you must be thoroughly grounded in theory, because it is on theory that practice stands. If you do not know about shapes and all, you can't make a table, because there must be some concepts before you talk about the percepts.
Where do we even really start on this? Because, I mean, year in, year out, you hear about ASUU going on strike, they meet a little demand, the strike is suspended.
Sorry, education is not something you balance on ethnic or religious grounds. There are minimum irreducible levels, even in a family. A family where the man and the husband never agree on anything. You find that they always agree that their children must be in school.
Are we taking cognizance of all this as a country?
Because the right people are not there. The good ones that are also smart enough to have been able to are not in authority. So they get sucked in.
Yeah, but the
because they want their meal ticket.
We had professors, doctors from the academia.
Please spare me that.
Head this
spare me that
Ministry of Education.
Let me tell you, many of the people who have headed, managed the educational sector, whom you say they were lecturers, what was their activity while they were in the university? Tell me any of them that you knew in terms of their level of activity or activism. You understand what I mean? Some of them were, okay, if you bring chalk to write on the blackboard, it's all well and good. If you say it is a marker, no problem. And if neither is available, we take it like that. Students, you know, this is not teaching, this is lecturing. So you go and read this, you can. Why do you even have rising cases of plagiarism? What are the publications in journals of many of the lecturers we have in the system today? Bring them in their areas of discipline. Give them 1 hour to talk extempore. Without looking, because that was the stuff lecturers were made of. In our days, you didn't become a graduate assistant unless you scored first class or second class upper. And when I talk about first class, that's not the kind of one we have now. It is that when you see the man walking, he has not spoken. The air of discipline, because this education is discipline. When I say what is your discipline, it means that the thing disciplines you. It shows you how much you know and the limit of what you still don't know. So the effort is to always perfect. What we have today, we have graduates that are unable to even write one. You can't even write an essay, not to talk about a précis. That is dangerous enough because they use the gun. Since the certificate is what is in issue, it is not what you are certificated upon. And that's why the system continues to collapse. In the secondary schools, when they see a big car, they say, man, check out that ride. It is not how the man who is riding in it got to, maybe the man is about 80, himself about 17, 18 years.
Secondary school.
Look at the gap. Secondary school. What do you find? He goes with gun to snatch that car from that man who is riding the thing and use that thing to hit his grandfather.